there's people in my life I've met who it's impossible for me to like not like, how do I say it, like go at each other's throats, if that makes sense.
I think that makes sense. Yeah,
right. And like and
to
we
properly confront them.
yeah, and we could have the most craziest political differences, but I've always liked to keep it peaceful and stuff like that, and just realize like at the end of the day this is just a discussion, and our actions are not being how do you call it, like we're not acting out on our actions, and like there's no harm in the discussion, right? For example, Alex, like I would actually I would say you, Jamie, and Jordan are very much people that I enjoy having any discussion with, because
I would agree. Yeah,
it's always constructive, and it's never like fuck you, you're wrong, and like, oh, how dare you, like, what do you mean you don't agree with this? It's like people are allowed to
fuck your pinky toes, Alex.
Yeah, fuck your pinky toes. But like, so like for example, like I actually, it was funny. So I think the only time Jordan and I had not like a cut at each other's throats, like, because Jordan has openly admitted to me he's so like he loves to argue, right? And just like Jordan will argue people for the sake of arguing, and he loves that, and the difference is he loves that, and there's times where I'm like, hey, like I don't want to debate, and then but why don't you want to debate, right? But he doesn't realize that he loves that. So I actually had to him and I had this epiphany, and basically I tried to explain to him that when I like to talk to people, I like discussing ideas, and let's build on the idea until it falls on itself. But Jordan's the opposite, where he goes, well, if the idea is shit at first, and if I can destroy it within the first logical thing, then it's a bad idea, right? So I presented to Jordan, I was like, hey bro, like honestly, like if we just look at it like this, like I like to build sandcastles, right? And then, you know, like, and the sandcastle refers to the idea. And then Jordan said, well, you know, like, well, with that analogy, then, you know, like, I'm like the water that has to come in and like destroy the castle, right? And this is where I came in and I stumped him and I said, well, why does there have to be water?
Right.
Okay. And that made him think for a minute. Because what I'm trying to say is like, look, instead of trying to take down ideas, let's just fucking have fun with the idea. And just play with it and see what comes out of it. Like, to me, that's funner than being like, no, you're wrong because of this.
And I think what you're also saying there as well, right, Morgan, is like there's all of these assumptions that we have when we're talking about discussions and ideas. And from Jordan's point, and I come into this too, like when I hear something that I have an inkling of something that I know might be wrong with the idea that someone's told me, there's a gut reaction to be like, oh, actually, no, I think you're wrong there because of this and this and this. But like you said, like, why are we assuming these things? Why don't we just ask a bunch more questions, get the facts, and then present our follow-up point instead of going like, oh, no. It's like, oh, but what about this? Oh, yeah, maybe that.
Because to me, I think that's funner if you just simply have fun with concepts and ideas, and eventually just let the idea fall on itself, not people take down the idea, if that makes sense. I think that's a way more constructive way to go about something, or about any topic, maybe. I mean, you could argue maybe it's not, but
well,
I think that's a better way to involve
constructive
people, though,
viewpoint,
because
I think, from
what that forces, the analogy that I was trying to come up with, like sandcastles and like taking away water, that enables a team effort to come up with ideas, rather than, hey, let's verse each other in a debate, right? And nobody likes being wrong. Let's just say that no one likes being wrong. You know what I mean?
But especially, like, I just think of it this way.
Yeah.
When you're talking of concepts and ideas, you're talking about how the theoretical is, in a sense.
Yeah, sure.
Right? Like when you're trying to come up with ideas for your YouTube. Okay? we don't know if like that will work or not. So saying no to it right away doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, because it's not, you're not being open-minded enough just to disclose it and say no.
Unless it is something, especially unless it is something like actually
Detrimental.
100%, no, 100% factual.
Factual, yeah.
You can't really just say no to it. Because
Yeah,
when
like
somebody's-
like if someone says like, hey, like, what if 1 + 1 = 3? Like, you know,
No,
and then
that's
you're
not
like,
how that works.
No, like it equals 2.
That's
Like,
not how that works.
yeah, there'd have to be a lot of convincing to get
like
to the center
earlier,
castle, yeah.
Me and you fucking around, brainstorming Pokemon video idea.
Oh,
and I
yeah,
kept
yeah.
like, and I eventually zoned in on the idea of like, bro, make us Pokemon.
Yeah.
But like, man, I had to like surf through like a bunch of different like animation style things of like Game Grumps, and we looked at that like Badger stuff, and I was thinking, man, just like the little like sprite animations that he has that like pops up on the screen when other people talk.
Yeah.
That's like mostly what I was like thinking of. You know, you have like gameplay in the background, but then you have like something else that just pops up in like the foreground of the video.
Yeah.
And then eventually, yeah, like I sunk onto the idea of I was like, bro,
Pokemon.
make us the Pokemon, and when we talk, have us like pop up on the screen and do like just like the little sprite can just like move around and do shit.
Yeah,
Something
exactly.
stupid like that.
Like it doesn't have to be a fully fledged out animation, which was
Yeah.
actually something Jamie had actually came up with a good idea that kind of adds to what you said, Alex. Is basically, so he basically said that like I should just make it where all the Pokemon are grayed out, and whenever someone talks, it goes colored.
Oh yeah, that's fucking that's a really good idea.
Right. So
Oh, that's a great idea.
yeah, and like
I've seen that somewhere too.
and that's simple too, right? Because then you have the Pokemon on the side, and it's like, okay, what is this? And as soon as one colors up, then you go, oh, that responds to that voice.
Yeah.
Right. So, however, now we have to go into basically, okay, well, how often are we going to have to, turn the color and all that stuff and all that shit.
Yeah.
And like, let's say if people are, what's it called? Like, there's multiple voices at once. Do we just turn them on for all, or do we leave them off? Like, it's stuff like that, right? Or like, for example, a lot of us tend to, what do you call it? Like, we try to get words in, then we stop talking, so it would look like it's a lot of flickering lights. So
Yeah,
do we just leave that off? You know what I mean?
There's definitely some, like you said, there's some more thought that needs to go into the two ideas, right? Like at this point, they're two kind of like maybe past the conceptual phase, and they're kind of at the like the layout testing phase type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but again, this is the same process of like we're building ideas, right?
Exactly. We're still
And
constructing
fuck,
the
man.
castle type thing.
Fuck
or
man,
the
it
town.
might fall over or it might
Yeah,
stand
it might
tall
fall
and
over.
proud.
The idea might not be the idea that you end up going with. Right?
Yeah.
Like, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just we haven't found the idea that worked yet, or have we, or we don't know, or whatever it is. Yeah. Yeah. And also like my whole point about like debating and discussing, and I think you mentioned this before, Alex, is like in a sense it is a team game, because like you maybe the team game in a sense is the sending side and the receiving side, right? So the sending side needs to be able to construct the argument, and the receiving side needs to be able to take the argument and place their rebuttal in a way that answers some questions that the sending side has sent, and also asks your own questions, or like in a maybe a bit more kind of like, I don't know, theoretical sense. It's like you need another person or another side to bounce an idea off of. So like that's always been why I've kind of like not really liked the idea of like political arguing, for instance, right? Because it doesn't seem constructive to me. Like what seems more constructive is having like experts discuss in a forum, and then that informs, like, let's say keeping this a bit more political, for example, like that informs maybe some kind of ideas of policy and all these kinds of things.
Oh, I see.
Because like what comes to my head immediately when I think of a discussion and then an argument is like the House of Commons in UK Parliament, which is, I don't know if you guys have seen like videos on it, but it's basically just like there's a big room. It's kind of similar to like the Canadian Houses of Parliament, I think.
Okay.
But it's a bit more like, because it's been around for like what, the 1500s, I think. It's kind of like a tiered like sort of room where the center of the room is kind of like this bullpen, and there's a tier kind of system that goes up sort of the sides.
And Jamie.
Yeah, he unplugged his mic.
Oh, he just died.
Idiot. Hello.
Just fucking dies.
Hello.
Yeah, it dies. I have to plug it in. There we go.
So you were saying it's like a ball pit.
It's like a bullpen, yeah. And, like there's a guy that like controls the discussion basically, who's called, I think, the speaker, kind of thing, kind of like the
That's
speaker
when
of the
they
house.
say Mr. Speaker and all that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And then you have you have the leading kind of deciding government, which could be a government like single party or coalition. They're on like say the right side, and on the left side is what they call the opposition. So the sort of the leading opposition party, and then some other members of other parties, kind of thing, kind of like shadowing the members of parliament, that kind of stuff. But what the House of Commons has turned into basically is just this shouting match, like the Prime Minister in what's called Prime Minister's Questions, right? Like I think it's every Thursday or Friday, or every other Thursday, or like once a month, for example. It basically becomes like, here's why I'm doing such a great job, and then the opposing party going, no, actually, you're a cunt. And then the Prime Minister going, I'm not a cunt, actually, fuck you, actually. And it's like, it's really frustrating, because a lot of the times it just divulges into like, this just looks like the high school playground.
It does become a more of an insult argument rather than from a productive.
Exactly. And then from an informed viewer's perspective, and I'm not saying I'm an informed viewer, but I like to think I'm an informed viewer, right? So from my perspective, watching the Prime Minister's Questions, it's like, man, these are the people that I've A, elected, and B, might have to elect or might have to vote for in the next general election. Like, there's nothing here that like wants me to vote for either of the two sides.
What's the lesser of the greater evils?
And I guess that's maybe that's always going to be the problem. Maybe the political example, right? Because they have to like they have to like prove that they're the better one.
That was funny. So
expert,
I mean, I'm okay with sharing like the political stuff I voted for as we're delving into political stuff. But so
I brought it up. Yeah, sorry.
Basically, like, I was gonna vote, like, I voted Liberal, I think 2016.
Yeah.
And then, or that was when there was the vote, right? Or is it 2012? I forget. But
I think it was 12.
2016, I think, because that's when you're of age to vote. Well, when we were, I mean. So I voted Liberal, and then everything seemed fine, and then as the years went by, then that was when like all this like crazy stuff started coming out. And not to go deep into that, but all of whatever repercussions of voting for that and them winning, it made me lead to want to vote for a different party, because here's the thing, so many people were like talking how bad conservatives were, and I was like, okay, well, why are they bad? And no one seemed to really give me any answers besides like, well, Harper back in the past went into like depleted a bunch of lakes and rivers, which made me go like, well, I care about the environment and shit. So and I'm not educated enough, and this is a big problem, right? So I wasn't educated enough in politics or anything, so I was making votes just based on like rather my impulsive feelings, if that makes sense. Holy shit. And basically it turned into like, now that I'm older, I'm like, honestly, I just want to like vote for any party just to have something different happen at this point.
Yeah. You know what was really funny about that? Because we had the Conservative Party as the majority party for the longest time.
A long time,
and then?
Hold on, I have to reply to you really quickly. I'm sorry.
Just fucking go silent.
I was gonna mention.
I'm waiting for the jewel, Alex. What, are you gonna cook me a lasagna?
Yeah, this is a real lasagna of a conversation. Hold on.
I was gonna. Oh, sorry, Alex. If you're ready, yeah.
1 second. I have to text.
Jamie, would you like to say anything?
Maybe just as a quick aside before Alex jumps back in, like maybe a reason why I didn't vote Conservative, sort of like fairly recently.
Okay.
And maybe this is different actually with their current sort of Conservative Party, but like 1 or 2 years ago,
Yeah.
they had a bunch of problems with like some real far right, like, you know, guys like coming in and actually holding constituent, kind of support.
Oh.
And so that was
Okay.
one of the reasons why I wasn't voting. I basically was voting Liberal to not vote Conservative, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense, because it's like
You
you start to look at the better of two evils in a way, if we're going to use that argument. So yeah,
that gets scary,
that was my
man.
reasoning for it.
When you have to start voting for the lesser, it's like
Yeah.
that's kind of scary, man.
Because I definitely still think that, like my ideal is like I'm a liberal. I think like I would vote liberal, more often than not, for sure. But yeah, like you said, Morgan, like, second term of Trudeau, it's like, okay, like it's not terrible, but also like what's really happened? Not a huge lot. But then I look on the other side. I think the NDP could be a good shout, but I also think that
but
they're
then
still
they got
maybe
bought
a bit
in
too...
by Liberal. Now like they merged.
Yeah,
right?
a little bit that, and also they're maybe a bit too new still. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Like even for me, I
yeah.
was legit on the verge of being like, dude, I'll literally vote Green Party, man, even though no one votes for them. But it's like I was going to, because I'm like, listen, I'd rather just put my vote into something that just might be different. I know that sounds kind of like, I bet
and the hope with the hope with Greens too is that because they're the Green Party, it's like their whole point is to help like try to manage the environment a bit more.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know my mum voted Green in the UK because we have like the UK Green Party kind of equivalent. She does that a lot because that's a big sort of cause of concern for her, and it should be more of our cause of concern as well. Like everyone should be kind of concerned about the environment now, more so than I think we think we are. But yeah, I would use that as an argument not to vote Conservative, if that makes sense. Like, or at least the Conservative Party of like what I was really paying attention like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Because I think they've got a new, is it Polyev, I think now, who's the like opposition Conservative Party leader.
And what does that mean?
Well, just the guy who's leading the Conservative Party, because I think that's been handed down now. Like, well, the Conservative leader has switched hands in the last few months, I think, or the last year or something like that. But yeah, I'm referring to more the Conservative Party of like how their makeup was 2 years ago, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, there's Alex.
Yeah, sorry. Just
no worries.
fucking. So, the funny thing, and like I said, it was what year was it? 2016.
Yeah, that was when we voted.
So that was the election that swapped over the Conservatives to the Liberals.
Yeah.
Federal election.
Yeah, that was it.
The funny thing about it, and this was the funny haha here for me in Alberta, is that I didn't vote Conservative. I voted what was it? UCP, I think.
Yeah, UCP. Yeah.
Because the UCP wanted to do one of a couple things. They wanted to do the thing that the current Conservative Party was doing, which was they had like a tax plan to lower the Canadian national debt, which Harper was doing. But B, they wanted to diversify the work spectrum in all parts of Canada.
Okay.
Which would have just benefited our education stupendously.
Okay.
So, this was the funny, and I remember because I had a bunch of like idiot friends that were kind of under the same thing that you went through, Morgan, is they weren't really politically like involved, right?
Yeah.
Like not many people at that age would have been.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing
Takes
was,
a lot of work, to be fair.
what's funny is like we're told to go vote, and it's like we've never had a political class in high school or anything like that. And you
should be much more prepared.
You know,
for this,
you expect us to go into the world of politics like knowing where we should go vote, and it's like, and here's the thing. I think what they do is like they throw these like concepts at us, like like for example, like rights for people. It's like that's a pretty big one that a lot of people in the younger generations, or even older too, I should say, are going to be more on the line with that, because if that's what they're preaching, it's like, oh well, yeah, I definitely want to vote for rights for people, but then you don't follow up with the other shit they're doing. But you're like, no, well, I just followed up.
How are you going to implement those rights with our taxes and whatnot?
Yeah,
How
know,
is that
it's-
going to
yeah.
how is that going to impact our
Yeah. Like what are you
national
gonna do
debt.
to regulate that? Are you gonna create fines if people are not treating others, at a certain way, or like stuff like that? But
Policies,
see,
yeah.
even like the questions we ask right now in this call, it's like we weren't asking those questions when we were like fucking 16? Is it 16 the legal age to do it? 16 or is it
voting
18?
age?
It's 18. You have to be
18?
18 to vote.
Yeah,
18 to
yeah.
vote, yeah. So like, bro, we weren't asking those
You're still
questions.
not asking the questions.
My questions I was probably asking when I was 18 was like, but can I get like the new COD? Like, like dumbass questions that had no political reference
I
at
feel
all.
like
man.
I
Yeah.
was the only 18-year-old of our generation that actually knew what the fuck they were thinking about politics.
I thought I did at the time, but looking back on it, I didn't. Yeah.
Yeah, I had
Like
no
like
idea.
I genuinely like decided on like the party I was gonna vote for based on like
Oh my
their
god.
like policies
Eh.
that they had that they wanted to implement,
Yeah.
as well as like the history of like how those policies
How they've done
and
it
other
before.
political parties have attempted to implement those
Holy
policies.
shit. Okay, so I just remembered
That's really
something.
good. Yeah. Good
Uh,
cross reference.
When we, like my class, you can ask Mo actually if he comes back, he'll remember this. Our class, we were grade 7, I think. So we were probably like 13, 12, I think.
I don't know. Yeah. I'm not
I think
sure.
that's around the age bracket. And basically we were brought to this was when Barack Obama was being president.
Oh,
getting
yeah,
elected, okay. And
Yeah.
I remember they brought us to this I don't remember what the place was called, but they brought us to a place where they were doing like newscasting interviews, right, with like my entire grade 7 class, okay. And they were asking the questions like, oh, how do you think Barack Obama's being elected as president? And I kid you not, they're asking a bunch of like grade 12, sorry, not grade 12, like 7-year oh shit,
Grade
sorry.
7, like 12 and
grade
13-year-old.
7 13-year-olds. Yes, thank you, Alex. They're asking like, well, what do you think of that? And it's like, we don't know shit, but you know what we do know is we know that we were taught racism is bad. So therefore it's like, well, I kid you not, most of them were just, all of my classmates, even me, we all said to them, oh, it's nice that a black person's being elected.
Yeah.
That's all we could say because we don't know anything else.
Yeah.
So it's like, what's that paradigm?
It's the one thing that you think you know, right? Because it's like you said, it's drilled into you from a pretty young age because it's yeah.
Now wait, hold on a second. I just noticed something. I just looked at the chat bar. I see
Yes.
fucking Nona over there is just muted, not deafened, still listening to us,
Not being a part of the conversation.
not being a part of the conversation. Shame.
Disgrace.
Shame.
Disgrace. She'll come back in a bit.
Watch her actually not be there.
She's probably
Yeah.
on the phone.
Yeah, she's
That's funny though.
I just noticed that. I thought that was
Yeah.
funny. Yeah, like
But like, you
I
know
don't
what I
know.
mean? For like,
Yeah, you don't
asking
know at that
young
age.
kids who don't know politics, what do you like about Barack Obama being president? And the first thing we can only say is the race is.
Well, it's a
good.
bit of a leading question too, right?
Yeah, it's like
because
we
it's
don't.
quite personal. Like, what do you like about him?
Yeah, and
Like,
they put
you
this
know.
on the news, man.
So like they could have phrased it in such a way that they could have tried to dig for like, oh, are these kids informed? Are their parents telling them anything? Like, what
Yeah.
do you like about his policies, right? But they kept it pretty personal, I think, to sort of steer that line of thinking, which isn't like it's not a bad
Yeah,
thing.
it's not a bad
It's
thing.
just
at all.
like it just sounds like maybe they took that into account already, like you said, right? Like it's okay,
Yeah.
like probably not going to get a lot of political information about these out of these kids. So
But don't you think
what's
it's
one thing?
Yeah, do you think
what
it could be
of?
a way to like push an agenda though?
I'm making sure not to use that word because I don't think that would be accurate
That would- yeah, okay.
necessarily for your specific case of like,
Yeah.
oh, a bunch of 13-year-olds, because at the end of the day, like, yeah, you're just a bunch of 13-year-olds.
Yeah.
What I think is fair to maybe imply and theorize in that situation is like they probably were going to use that as like a quite nice looking piece, right?
Yeah.
Agenda maybe not quite that far, but like I think it's addressing the whole issue of like, yeah, that America does have problems with racism, the UK does absolutely as well, Canada does,
Yeah.
like a lot of places still have issues
Yeah.
with racism, so let's try and get
you
a sense
think
of like we're
using-
addressing it.
Yeah,
know,
so do
that
you
kind of
think
stuff.
using kids to ask, like, what do you think of Obama, and them knowing, because, like, we're taught that racism is bad at a
Yeah.
young age, but, like, we're
Yeah.
not taught anything political, so it's like,
Yeah.
couldn't have that been a catalyst to insinuate, let's call it, like, oh, like, we shouldn't be racist, blah, blah, blah.
I think that's a fair point. I think I would agree in the sense of I would rather see experts really weigh the pros and cons, right? Like if I was an adult watching the news at that time and suddenly it's like, oh hey, there's a bunch of 13-year-olds telling the viewer that they want Obama because he's black or whatever, it's like I would have rather, for me anyway, getting some real expert opinions and actually talk about policy, right?
Yeah.
But obviously, if the news is always about that, it's quite dry. So maybe there's people in media understanding that, okay, maybe we need some like just uplifting things. So we're gonna get a bunch of 13-year-olds, yeah, Obama, woo, could be for that. So that's why I think I'm steering clear of using the word agenda.
Yeah,
But
that's
also,
fair.
I don't think it's an unfair assessment as well. And it also seems a bit targeted, right? Like I think you're implying, Morgan, right? Where it's like, hey, let's get these kids that don't really know anything, and let's
Yeah.
get them to like all say, yeah, we think it's cool that Obama's elected because he's a person of color, black or whatever.
Yeah, see, that's like that was, I guess, the insinuation I was
I could see
for,
it. I could certainly see that. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
because
can see
it's
that.
like, yeah, like I don't know how else to like continue that, but that was the insinuation I was going for. But
Yeah.
like
But
then we
guess
found out like what apparently he wasn't like the greatest guy, because I don't pay attention to news and I don't know much, but like
I just like secretly like bombed a bunch of places, drones.
yeah.
Yeah, turns out a lot of presidents do that actually.
Yeah, a lot do, yeah, but
yeah, not just
True.
Obama, but yeah, he did call a lot of drone strikes. He did kill a lot of like people died for those orders.
well,
right?
at least then he's no different.
So yeah, well, that's it.
Black or
like
white, the president still hates the Middle East.
yeah, it
Jesus
turns out the
Christ.
president still got to make hard decisions, right? And it doesn't matter if they're black or not.
Yeah.
I guess what I'm trying to say is like I would rather the debate be around like not kind of like really charged racial issues like that, and instead like how actually good is the policy making part of the election, because that's what the voters are there for. Like ideally they're there for, I should care about all of these things and not because they're black or white or whatever other race they represent, right? Like we shouldn't have to care about that. It's just it in a way it sucks because in the States, at least at that point, like, and still today, you kind of have to care about it,
Yeah.
which is good and bad, because actually we do need more representation, right? That's an absolute positive. That's really good, but also it's
representation's a
like
positive. But it's like, but then how do you go about representation?
yeah, exactly. You run the risk of upping representation, and then you get someone that doesn't maybe understand what they should understand if you're really pushing them for that level, just because of representation, right?
They don't understand because
and that's the discussion I want to see. I like I said, I want to see discussions about like what do the experts think about the policies of X and Y candidate, and not because hey, that guy's black, let's get them in. And it's like, actually, I think I'm for that. Actually, I think I want the diversity, but I also want the diversity to be the right kind of diversity, in the sense of I also
like
want
not
that candidate.
Not just a fucking easy point and click.
Exactly. I want the candidate to also know these things that they should know.
Yeah, but like, are they qualified for it?
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. It's kind of like job interviews. It's like you would want to pick the people who are the like, what do you call it? Like the most qualified for the job.
You want to pick the most qualified,
regardless of ethnicity, background, or shit like that.
Exactly.
But so like actually it was funny because a lot of my like the film work and all this shit, right? Like my producers and them were telling me, they're like, yeah, like it's crazy that like people are getting into like film industry just because they have friends rather than actual qualification. And even for
that's
me,
my least favorite thing in this
even
world.
for me in fucking like me, there's Nona.
Welcome back, Nona. We're talking about diversity now. We've
we've evolved.
Gone through politics. Yeah.
Oh
Like,
my God, guys.
Diversity is
going.
good,
We're
but
still
it's how you go about it, right? Like if you're just
Yeah.
gonna say,
I get back to like something deeper and deeper and deeper.
yeah. Like if you just say, well, we're gonna pick people to work this field just because of diversity, I think that's
Yeah.
Oh,
bad.
bro, that's why Mass Effect Andromeda was bad.
That's why it was to be fair, and to counter my own point, I think it's like so. I think it's good when you further diversity because let's just say, for example, I work in the games industry, right? And a lot of people in the games industry are male, right?
Yeah.
So on one side, you've got the argument of, okay, if we want the really solid, absolute experts for level design, level art, technical animation, all these things, and if they happen to be all men, that there's one side.
Yeah.
I will say though that getting people in that are from a different racial background, different sex, male, female, or other, right? There's definitely the case there that they bring fundamentally different points of view.
Yeah.
And those new points of view are they can be quite shocking in the sense of I'd never thought about the problem in that way. And I do think that does open the door to really think about a problem and tackling hey, how do we do this level versus this level in actually really cool way. I just also think that there's it's that seems a bit riskier because then you're leveraging someone's background and not their technical background, just their lived background versus their qualifications, like you said, Morgan. And it's it's tricky because
they should,
I want to.
Why don't they should create a new job for that then? Why not? You could call it a consultation type.
Yeah,
of job,
consultant
you know what I mean?
maybe. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, because
I think
whole
you should pay people for ideas. Why not?
I think that's a good point. Yeah.
My whole problem with it is like you were saying. It's the new ideas. New ideas are always needed. In my opinion.
Yeah.
Grabbing from different groups of people for those new ideas is never a bad thing. It's just are we now willing to sacrifice quality of work for those new ideas? Mm-hmm. And as just from my opinion, looking at the gaming industry, yes we are.
Shit.
Yes we are.
Are we looking at Gollum by any chance? Oh no.
Oh, there's a plethora. There's a plethora of examples.
Yeah, there's a plethora.
I mean, this is why so many people who are hardcore gamers are just moving to indie and fucking companies now, because it's all of the AAA companies are just it's all just the same fucking shit.
Like I said, Mass Effect Andromeda. It's the best example. I'm just saying.
It's definitely a good example. I don't think it's the best example. I think there are other examples.
It is the best example of how far are we willing to compromise, and they compromised to the point where that game fucking sucked.
That game
and was broken. I'm just saying.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's a very good example, but I think
so much so that when we look at the technical crew of that game, they had people that had absolutely no background in 3D modeling and design that were working in positions of the crew, being 3D facial design, 3D facial tracking, things of that nature. There are people working in those positions
I love your shirt.
that had no...
Yes.
My shirt?
Go.
What did you say, Nona?
Whose shirt?
I just noticed his shirt. It's Batman. It's fucking...
Oh,
the
Gotham
Knight shirt.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
But yeah, they had people working in positions that had no business working in those positions. They had no... They didn't even have any idea of how the basic art tools work for their 3D modeling programs.
Wait, holy shit, is that Dopa?
They had to outsource.
What's going on, man?
Holy shit.
Crazy.
We're talking about.
Hold on a second.
diversity
Hold
in
on.
video
Alex,
games.
put on hold. Dopa, where the fuck have you been, man?
Dude, it's been fucking busy lately. I'm not gonna lie to you. A lot of things has been busy.
Good busy or bad busy?
I don't know, kind of both, cause I already told you I've been I told Jin I've been boxing lately, right?
Yeah.
I ain't gonna lie to you, brother. I've been getting my ass kicked, bro.
Bro, that
I've been
happens.
getting my ass kicked, bro.
That needs to happen for you to get better at it. Trust me.
Ready for work. Have fun, guys.
Wait, you're going to
See you
bed?
Yeah.
later.
Yeah, I have to get ready for work. Imagine you guys are gonna go to
Oh
bed. and
yeah,
you're gonna
right.
go to work.
Because you're like,
Yeah. Bye bye, guys. Have a
See
Peace,
good
ya.
peace.
day.
Peace,
Have a
peace.
good
Nona, have a
night.
good day at
See you later.
work.
I'll
Poop
see you
others.
guys one day. Bye bye.
See ya.
See
Peace,
ya.
peace.
All right.
See you,
So
cut.
Alex,
See you, cut.
you were saying.
So like yeah, again in like the example of like the Mass Effect Andromeda like technical crew, when you like reviewed the crew that they had assembled for this game, they had people working in positions that had no business working in those positions whatsoever because they had no experience in that field of work, in that field
Yeah.
of like art design or anything like that, right? And we watched that they said, oh no, we'll diversify and we'll grab people that are on the current like social political train to make the game look good to the other people of that social political train.
Right.
Okay. And then when a game actually came out and we actual fans of the series
Yeah, that's a
got
pretty
to
good
it,
example. That's a pretty good example. Yeah.
we were like, wow, this is shit.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like a lot of these developers, they have the good intentions of wanting to explore further out audiences, if that makes sense. But it's
Yeah.
like your foundation is built on the fans you already have. So,
Yeah.
you know, like you should be respecting the original fans you have and not go crazy making drastic changes just because of a diverse idea, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, and you don't even have to like you really don't. And the best example of that is FromSoft. FromSoft games don't have to. Look at what started. Look at what started as like a tiny, a cult following game, the Souls
Right.
franchise,
Yeah.
Demon Souls,
Yeah.
Dark Souls 1. Small franchise. The games were never AAA. They never broke like charts until like Dark Souls 1 started getting popular on things like YouTube.
Mhm.
And then Dark Souls 2 took off, and it, you know, was going at a good pace. It was a little jank, but that's because they had to downsize their production team size to make Bloodborne.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's also because Miyazaki wasn't on Dark Souls 2. It was,
Yeah, he wasn't.
someone
He
else.
he
Yeah.
only like advised certain aspects of it. Bloodborne hit the ground running. Was arguably FromSoft's like first big AAA game,
Mm.
despite the
Yeah.
fact of being a console exclusive.
Mm.
Yeah.
And then Dark Souls 3 came out and won Game of the Year twice in a row.
Yeah,
And a
like
bunch
built
of
on that
awards.
success of
And was
Bloodborne
just like
already,
boom. And now it's now FromSoft is a regular just fucking, you know, household gamer thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dark Souls, get good, prepare to die, regular gamer thing. It's just how it is.
Yeah.
But they didn't compromise.
Yeah, they basically said we're making our own game and we're not going to follow a formula that is popular.
Exactly.
And that's like they took the risk for that, right? Because
100%. But they didn't compromise on anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the big thing.
That's the
Yeah.
point. Yeah.
and I mean, hey, like they're all Japanese workers over there, so like you want to talk about like diversifying, like they
Yeah.
are not gonna hire Americans
No.
to work on their fucking games. Are you fucking kidding
No,
me?
no, no, no.
You know what I
Definitely
mean?
not.
Yeah,
Definitely
sure,
not.
maybe
Yeah.
voice actors, but no,
Yeah.
no, like they're not gonna hire Canadian, Brazilian people to
They're
produce
not
their
gonna
game.
they're not gonna hire no fucking to fucking like fuck. I'm sorry, but that's just how it is. And that's like again,
Yeah, because
Mass Effect Andromeda. Mass Effect Andromeda ruined their game because that like their lead 3D designer was this like this cosplayer. I don't know what else to say, man. No technical background in like anything like modeling or anything like that. And it was bad. It was so bad. And
Yeah,
I
so,
hated
yeah.
it. I was
Did
just
that.
like, man, you guys ruined one of the like
Greatest trilogies.
one of the greatest fucking like game franchises that like we the fucking like players have been waiting for.
I think, yeah, that comes down to maybe a different like part of the argument now. Then is like, you know, as much as, you know, people that make decisions in the games industry want to like charge the chatter with like, you know, politically driven like mainstream kind of things to make their game, you know, appeal to more people. Like the other aspect needs to be true in the sense of like the consumer who was, let's say, in the 90s, early 2000s, like only used to like maybe like 5 games. Now they're used to like 50 games a year, right? So that number just keeps growing exponentially.
Yeah,
like,
especially
like
for a
there's-
good bit, we had like 10 plus AAA games released
Yeah,
in a year.
in
and
a
that
year,
was,
right?
That
That's
was
a
holy
lot.
shit, man.
And so there's such a saturation in the market, but at the same time, there's also people are just like they haven't seen that much before, right? And like, you know, since the early 2000s, like it's only been 23 years, right? So it's like really not a long time, and like huge, like gamers that are gaming when, or gamers that were gaming when they were like, you know, 18, they're still gaming, and they're like what, not even 50 yet, right? So they're still like prime gaming. Obviously, maybe not necessarily prime gaming, but like they're still more than capable to game. And like, you know, I still think a lot of this has to do with people's expectations. Like, and that comes on to the side of, you know, consumer expectation, but also company expectation, because like the expectation from companies used to be, hey, we'll make a game, we'll sell it, and then we'll make another game. Now it's, oh, we'll make a game, we'll live service the game, we'll make billions of dollars, and then people will keep buying it and keep buying it and keep buying it. Like, look at Ubisoft, I think, what,
Yeah,
like
holy shit. How many Assassin's
8
Creeds have they
to
made?
5 years ago. Yeah, but like I think it was, what is it, 5 years ago? Like their like financial forecast was basically like, we'll make one game, we'll keep live servicing it, and all the Assassin's Creed games will now become, you know, DLCs from this one game, and it will just be like a wheel of live service, right? And that's obviously not been successful because, you know, they were jumping on a trend as much as anyone else is jumping on trends. But
Yeah,
like,
look at
you
Halo
know,
Infinite. Holy shit, that game was
like, yeah,
what do you want to call it?
exactly. Halo Infinite, Anthem, right? Like all of
Yeah.
these games trying to jump on live servicing and not getting it right. Whereas games like Valorant, you know, like actually end up getting the live service right, and like, you know, people love it, people play it a lot. You know, the game's really good as well, so like that helps a lot. And it's also a good game in a challenging market. Like, you know,
Yeah,
there's
but
so
like
many
certain
you know,
like the thing
battle royales.
about like live service too is like certain styles of game can fit into that
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
exactly.
market style.
Halo
but, like,
Infinite,
some
I don't think
games-
fits into that.
Yeah,
at
like
all,
some games
right?
that have no right being like a live service game
Yeah,
should just be buy the game, you know, get what you paid for. Hopefully, whatever you paid for is like good.
yeah,
Because more often than not nowadays, it's not.
yeah.
You know.
So this
And
this
then,
this is coming to my point about like consumer expectation. I think like my hope is in the next couple of years or the next like decade, the expectation from the consumer isn't going to be like how it is usually for like an early Marvel film, right? Like where it's like so hype, so utterly mind blowing that the film's never going to achieve the level of hype that the hype is, right? And then the product comes out, it's still really good, but the hype was there and the product delivered here, so it's like it's worse than what I thought it was, kind of thing. But it's actually like I was expecting S++, and it's actually just S, and like it's a phenomenally good product, but because I was expecting so much, it was like, oh, this is just and it's not to say that that's wrong,
Cyberpunk.
but yeah, right, exactly, like that falls into it for sure. But like, and I think this is basically my argument here is like, because this is still so new in the sense of like we're still seeing all this wave of, you know, basically 20 years of AAA game design essentially, and it's still like only 2 decades, and like I just think consumers are too quick to jump on something and to like really make the executives think that, you know, oh, this is a great thing that we're going to do, we're going to put all the money into this, and then it just falls over and dies. And also because the executives also don't know what they're doing. So there's definitely a you know, duology of a problem there, I think. But like, you know, if consumers are able to manage their expectations, I think like, you know, you see it with like Elden Ring, and obviously Elden Ring's a really fucking good game as well, so that helps.
Yeah.
But like, you know, get like Elden Ring's hype, right? Like pre-release, game comes out, yep, it's right there with the hype, right? Like it's matched it. People expected something, they got exactly what it was. Boom! Like that's what you want, right? That's the release that companies should be going for. But so often, and it's not always consumers. A lot of the time, it's like, oh yeah, like you said, right? Like we're going to release a live service that isn't it doesn't fit. Like, why are we releasing a Halo that's live service? Like, that's just a bad decision.
I wanted to
corporate side, right?
I wanted to go into what's it called? So my friend who was working on Halo Infinite, he told me so many times that basically it was them getting constantly new contractors all the time, and they'd be finished, you know, like writing their own code, blah blah, all that is.
Yeah.
But none of it was consistent. All the code was different every time, so it forced everyone that they kept hiring or replacing, or even people who are always there from the beginning, having to relearn the new stuff.
That's the worst thing.
And
yeah,
it's like, what are you doing, man? Like, you have people who are good at their job. Let those people, like, you know, keep them here and put them more in charge of, I guess, whatever you want to call it. But like, that whole contracting method is, sure, maybe these developers think it's, or the big, you know, investors think it's, oh, it's cheaper, just get a, you know, someone who's a contractor and all this shit. But it's like, you're jeopardizing the game's value with that mindset.
Exactly.
Jeopardizing its quality.
Yeah, like 100%.
Yeah.
And
because it takes time for those new guys to like figure out what they should be figuring out.
They have to build off of a previous person's like work
They don't have
without
the
ever
concept.
like working with them or getting to know them.
Yeah.
And let alone whether or not they have worked with that kind of coding or whatnot. Like I know an example of this is I remember reading once an article on why like Infinite like struggled is one of the systems that they wanted to implement in the game changed its basic format of coding 4 times.
Jesus.
Wow.
They changed the basic format of how the system was going to work, what it was written on, 4 times.
Nah,
Of
bro,
course
they
it's
just
not-
don't know when to work.
They
Yeah,
just
of
don't
course,
work.
it's not gonna work.
Like,
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, there's
Like,
that
if-
too, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Because now you're just constantly like backpedaling. You're not even making progress.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Not making
So it's
Yeah,
like,
it's
that's
a
crazy.
shame, man. And then, you know, like Forge being released like a year later. What the fuck was that?
Yeah.
We
That
still
had, like,
aren't we still missing like
production.
custom games?
scheduling.
Proper custom
I think
games. We don't have
they're-
Infection yet.
I think there's some now, but yeah, there's not all of them.
There's
Yeah, we're missing custom game modes now.
like we have custom games, but it's mainly like Slayer based. There's no Infection.
It's just like the playlist that they have made already.
But
Yeah,
this is that, and I think Morgan, you brought this up before, right? About
Yeah.
like, you know, the people should be making games for the fans that were already there, who have supported the franchise already. And there's a lot of Halo fans. Like there's
there's
more than
so
enough
many.
Halo fans to make $1 billion, you know, Halo Infinite, right? Like there's a lot of Halo fans out
Yeah.
there, right? So that clearly is the part of the managing expectation side of the company that I mentioned before, where it's like the company's looking at the live service games that are coming out. They're looking at like the Valorants, the League of Legends. Obviously, that's not a new one, but like, you know, all of those type of games, and they're like really just horny for that, like that money, right? Just really horny for it in a bad way that detriments the game, right? Because clearly, what you can see there is, like they focus on the live service elements, which is fair enough, okay, like fine, but that comes to the detriment of like there's no co-op in the game. You've said already, Morgan. Yeah, they've released Forge a year late that they should have done. You know, yeah, like you said, Alex, like there's no custom games in it yet, right? So like those 3 pretty massive things, like those have been in all Halo games, right? Like, what? Like I haven't played Halo since Halo 3, right? What do I think about Halo? Well, I immediately think co-op, I immediately think Forge mode, and I immediately think custom game modes, because those are all the 3 things I did when I was at LANs playing Halo, right? And so now if I want to play Halo Infinite, I'm like, great, I'll play Halo Infinite. Oh, you're telling me that there's no co-op, there's no Forge, and there's no custom games? Well, I'm not going to play Halo Infinite. So then
Yeah.
I'm not going to buy Halo Infinite. I'm not a consumer that's purchasing the product. And then a bunch of other Halo fans like you guys who have played all the Halo games, you're like, well, I'm up to date on the Halo lore, and I don't want to play this game because it's, you know, it's not Halo. It's just a random other BR that's come out, right? Like,
Yeah,
like,
we are, yeah.
you know, and so okay, so you've gone for the live service model, thinking that you're going to make all the money, but you've detrimented all of these systems that are like core Halo. Like that's, you know, that's just not the right decision. That's just shit. Like that's just a shit decision. Like that's just the wrong decision, actually. Yeah. So
Yeah.
like, yeah.
It's like you sometimes have to wonder. It's like, who the fuck is the one making all the executive decisions to do that shit? You know,
Well,
Yeah.
a lot of that, I can answer that question. A lot
Probably
of it is
studio
like,
management executives. That's it.
yeah, but like a lot of like game development has moved away from like
Making an actual
gamers.
game.
No, it has moved away from gamers making games for gamers.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Now, you have a development crew, which might be people that are gamers, might not be. They might be passionate about a project, they might not be. They might not be. Now they're kind of getting directed towards what they should do, when they should do it, what they should do, how they should do it, and when they should do it by literally their marketing division, which is trying to sell the game to investors
Before the game is already out.
before the game's even out. Yeah.
And
They
also,
promise these things and goals and commitments that you haven't even put together like a development team yet.
Mhm.
Okay, so now you get a development team together, and they just give you like a timeline, and they say, "There you go, make us a game," and
Make us a
meet
game.
these goals and expectations by these times.
Yeah.
Good luck. Bye bye.
Yeah, like really.
No, that's like literally what's like at least like the Western like AAA game development has turned into.
It certainly feels like that. It usually doesn't happen in the case of marketing first. The game is usually in development at least a year before the actual marketing begins, to be fair. But like, yeah, the whole point about expectations, right, is like that's where you're seeing the pre-rendered trailers. You're not seeing gameplay trailers until like a month before the game comes out.
Yeah.
And the marketing trailers already built up the expectations, and they do it deliberately. They do it because they want you to buy the product before it's released, right? The whole pre-order type.
Yeah, they try
like,
to pre-sale games.
Yeah.
You know.
So this is a the same kind of argument I've been sort of showing here is like the part of the annoying part of the expectations is like companies know that when consumers get really hyped about something, they'll just buy into the product, right? It's like
Well,
it's just that's just how we work, right? Like when we get emotional about something, we're not thinking straight, right? So companies are trying to get like your emotions riled up, and you're like, don't think clearly about the product, by the way, buy it now, type thing. Whereas if they wanted us to think clearly about a product, they would tell us exactly what the product is going to be. They would release a gameplay trailer, and then they would just release the game, right? And like you see sometimes like the Valheims, right, that come out where they just here's a gameplay trailer and here's the game. There you go. I can play the game. Cool. Actually, loads of people bought that game. Really, really successful game, right?
I dumped like 200 hours into Valheim.
Exactly. Yeah. So like wow, why doesn't that happen for AAA? Like, oh yeah, it's like, well, okay, now you've got to deal with these massive, publicly traded companies. They've got shareholding, meetings and all this stuff. It's like, capitalism gets a bit, it confuses the discussion a little bit, right? But like, they do it because they know that consumers are going to buy into a product before they actually think they want to buy into it, which is frustrating because it means that you've got to really stop watching trailers and follow marketing and all that stuff. But it does confuse the argument.
like
definitely.
Jordan, he like doesn't watch trailers at all for games.
I mean, that's the argument, right? And like that's why we see people talk about that more often, right? Is because like there's so much of it happening, and it's like, okay, like I don't have time, and I don't want to get spoiled, and I don't want to get frustrated about the game when it comes out, having all of these expectations lined up on my shoulders, and then it's all not that. Like Cyberpunk is a great example, great example of that. Although to be fair, as I hear, they have addressed it, or like No Man's Sky, right? Like No Man's Sky comes out, all of these expectations, and then falls on its head, and they have to work 7 years
but
to
now,
like, fix the problem.
now No Man's Sky is like.
And now it's pretty good, yeah.
It's actually an example of what a game
exactly
should do if it fails.
Exactly. So it's kind of like it's the exception of that rule, because even though it was part of the rule, they've worked hard to make it an exception.
Yeah.
Right? So it's
and now it's a phenomenal experience, which is
and they've added all of this awesome content to it, and you can do loads of things in the game, and it's like that's exactly what you want from a release. If good or bad, right? Like you want the release to go well, or if it goes bad, you want to know that the company's really working their socks off to make the product that you paid for worth the money that you paid for. And it's just and this is the problem I think with modern AAA, and I think you guys brought the point up earlier where it's like gamers are diversifying their portfolio in quotes, right, to make it like a formal stockholder kind of like analogy. Is like, at the end of the day, you can't just keep playing World of Warcraft for 20 years and still being like, why is Blizzard so shit? It's like, well, stop playing World of Warcraft if it's shit. Actually, like, play this other game. Actually, there's like so many other fucking games over here that are like really good.
This new expansion is actually good.
Yeah, well, exactly, and I would agree. I think Dragonflight's also really good, right? But the same point stands, right? Like, all these MMOs are coming out. People are like, I want to play one MMO for 50 years and that's it. It's like, you can actually play 7 MMOs at once. Like, you can actually do that. Like, it's not just play Final Fantasy 14, you prick. Like, yeah. So that's the example there.
Especially because FF14 has a free-to-play you can play for a fair chunk of it.
For ages, and no, the first 2 expansions are free now, right? Like Stormblood and Heavensward are free, right? Yeah, like they're just free. Like, so great. Like half the game is free then. Like,
and it's
but there is
really
something
good.
I don't like about that though.
Mm-hmm.
So what about the people that paid for those expansions and now they're free?
Yeah, as well. That's a fair.
I don't like that.
That's Destiny in a nutshell, right there.
That was Destiny 2's beginning, like entire like. That's like Destiny 2.
Yeah.
Dropping these like shitty DLCs that like we all paid for, dropping the game that was $80, and then they're just like, we're going free to play, and everyone that gets on, now you get the first 3 DLCs for free, and I just dropped the game. I was like, goodbye.
See you later. Yeah.
I was just like, nice to know that you keep your like long-standing players.
Shit on me. Yeah.
Yeah, nice to know where you stand with us.
That's definitely
you're literally exploiting your foundation of players. Like it's
crazy.
It's insane to me, man. And then if you think about like the money, like Destiny 1 had a $500 million budget.
That's so much, man. And
like
what was even Destiny 1? Good gunplay and that's it. Like,
yeah, it's like there's no like. The story was so shit too. Like, you guys remember, like, I don't have time to explain what I don't have time to explain. A real quote from the fucking game. Sent by the mysterious stranger. It's like, what?
The story did get a lot better.
Sure.
I feel that's copium though, man. I think that's real copium.
Like,
that's fair. No, that's like that's like a fair.
We're comparing it to The Witcher 3. It's like, oh, that's
sure.
It's copium.
It gets better. It gets better.
It gets better at 1,000 hours. Yeah, it gets better at 500 hours.
It gets better after you've coughed out $80 3 times.
Holy shit, the endgame though. I don't
this is what I'll say. For like an example of like Destiny 1. Destiny, like, these are the people that went from like making Halo to like trying to make like a loot and shoot.
Right.
Which wasn't like really popular outside of like one exception. Borderlands.
Yeah, Borderlands.
Yeah.
Okay. And they stuck to their guns and were just like, well, we know how to make like a sci-fi shooter. Let's fucking make that. And they did. And regardless of what you say, yeah, okay, it was some fancy gameplay. That was some solid as fuck gameplay.
The gameplay was solid, yeah.
I actually would go and play the Crucible and do PvP, even though I had fallen off of PvP. The last time I really PvP'd in a game was Halo Reach.
You hated
Halo Reach? I could just... No, that's like the last time that I would like go play that shit, where I would just go into like... I would just go into like this...
enjoyed PvP.
Yeah!
Yeah, I agree with that, yeah.
Like where I would just go into random matchmaking and just play with randos online. And like wait for all the boys to get on for us to do custom game.
So let's rewind a bit back here and let's focus on the money. So what really made Destiny 2 really big was it's piggybacking, in my opinion, off of Destiny 1. Right, it's a looter shooter, right? A lot of people are really into looter shooters. You know, they're really
Simple to
into.
play.
A lot of people are like into Warframe, you know, shit like that.
Oh yeah.
So now
Loot and Shoot has its basis in like literally gambling and the loss aversion though. That's kind of the funny thing about it that not a lot of people talk about.
And so what really brings in the money are these like DLC expansions, right? So all these AAA title games would really advocate for what are those called? Battle passes?
The season pass, the battle pass.
And so you know, it would be a free-to-play game, but you would be paying all that type of shit, right? What really stands out between these type of companies and the company of No Man's Sky is that the company is really small. No Man's Sky's company? What were they called? Sky whatever fuck?
Sky Labs?
I forget,
right?
yeah. I forget the name.
Them motherfuckers were dedicated and like fixing their game, right?
Yeah.
And so that
exactly.
would made it more popular. You know, people now notice, you know, these guys are really serious, right? In my opinion.
The developer.
Hello Games. There you go.
Hello Games, yeah. Now, I would say AAA games are more. They know their at this point they know and they don't know their audience because
Yeah.
AAA games, the Activision publishers would produce another fucking dumbass Modern Warfare, which inside of them, right? And people will still buy it, deadass, because it's just a new Call of Duty game. So they know their audience, they know the trends, right? Even though they're kind of losing money at this point. And I'd say that a lot of people in the big corporation are just lazy at this point. They just don't care.
Oh yeah.
They
yeah,
really
yeah.
are lazy.
100%.
But yeah, we don't have gamers making games for gamers anymore.
Yeah.
From Software is carrying it. From Software is carrying it.
Yeah, From Software there, but I think you
There's
guys
some,
also
yeah,
made
there's
the
some
point
examples of that.
You
In my
guys
opinion,
also said, you know, like all of the AA and indie games, right? Like, you know, if you
Oh my God,
leave
yeah.
the AAA sphere, there's actually, you know, like there's loads of Valheims, there's loads of these other, you know, like
Platformers
what's
like
the others,
Celeste.
like yeah, like the Vampire Survivors as well.
I
Like,
don't care what anyone says. Capcom at this point is like the goat of like gaming industry.
yeah, I mean, like Monster Hunter Rise, right? Monster
Yeah.
Hunter World, like
World
AAA
is their
games,
first like
two of them,
real world
really
release.
good.
That
yeah,
was
really good AAA
such
releases.
a fun game when Monster
Man.
Hunter World came out. Like,
Well, that's the
Yeah.
thing.
I
They
was
even said
hooked.
themselves like they had no idea that like Monster Hunter World would even succeed. They took such a big gamble with that one because up until now, like that was another like kind of a cult following game. It had its definite following in like the eastern part of the world,
And the western part of the world.
and it had a small
Fucking love the
following.
PSP games, man. Those
Oh
games.
yeah,
I lived
Monster
off those
like
for
Frontier,
10 years.
Generations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Freedom
And it
2,
had, but it had a
Freedom 9.
small cult following here. It had a much bigger following in like
Yeah.
the east, but in terms of like a Western audience, it was small.
Pretty small. Yeah. Pretty
And there's some parts of the world that they don't even sell the game in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
that's
Monster
true.
Hunter World was their first like worldwide release of the title,
Mhm.
and they
Right,
actually were like extremely underfunded for what they wanted to do.
Mhm.
And they had to piggyback off of one of their previous games like engines to make the
Yeah.
entire game, which is why
I think you can kind of see that in like
it's
how the
it's
game's put
Dinosaur
together,
Park
right?
Simulator.
Exactly right. Like the vistas are great in the dinosaur fighting map game, right?
Uh-huh.
But then when you're like looking at the other parts of the game, it's like okay, yeah, there is definitely a level of simplicity here where it's like, you know,
Yeah.
two different
Fun to
maps,
kill.
they're very different, but they've done it in a clever way, right? Where you're not, it doesn't matter that if you notice it because the game's fun. Like the
Yeah.
characters are fun, the constant like grind content that is actually still fun.
And
the
on
level,
top of that,
you know,
they do like they've always done this in Monster Hunter games. They follow up with the game's release with
Yeah.
content, which
Yeah.
is something we don't get in Western releases.
not as much now.
Like
yeah.
we had like the way they word is they have developer updates, and we
Mhm.
had like update 1 through 5,
Mhm.
which is like we got like some new monsters, we got some like updated system, some like different game mechanics, and then they dropped like their DLC of like it was like a $40 DLC, but that
Yeah.
was a whole separate game.
Whole separate game, whole separate map.
That was
yeah.
a second game that they just like literally pooped out on us.
Yeah.
That's just something we don't get in like Western gaming especially anymore.
You say we don't get that, like, you know, you could argue actually that, you know, Marvel's Spider-Man, Insomniac, like that's exactly what they're doing too, right? Like they made Spider-Man, and they made Miles Morales,
the
and now
new
they make Spider-Man too.
looks amazing.
So you know, there's like I said, there are examples of the good type of AAA, and like Monster Hunter absolutely fits into that.
Wait, who are the developers of Spider-Man?
Insomniac. And Ratchet and Clank. Ratchet and Clank's another franchise that like that's done the same thing kind of for 10 years. Like you know they've delivered a solid game, put some DLC in it, then they've delivered another solid game, put some DLC in it.
Where Alex is coming from about the whole there isn't a lot of that. I think
I agree. There's not a lot of
what we mean to say though is there isn't a lot of IPs that complement what our interests are. For example,
I also wasn't familiar with Insomniac because they're like strictly like PlayStation exclusive, and I've never.
Well, you only really know them if you play Ratchet and Clank, basically.
Yeah,
exactly.
Like
that's the only reason I know them.
I played Ratchet Deadlock on PS2. That was fucking awesome.
Yeah, I never played any of those. So
but
I went from like Nintendo systems to Xbox.
And I think Morgan, like what you just said there about like you know it's not necessarily games that we want to play or that we think we'd like or whatever. Like paraphrasing definitely from what you said. Like I think that's just another point that you know like at the end of the day like what does being a gamer mean in like the modern day, like 2023, like what we're almost in June, right? It's like no more can we kind of sit and lavish, I think, at playing like just the 1, 2, maybe 3 games. Like you know ideally you've got to branch out a bit more now, and that's a bit of a bad thing because like you know I think the industry's kind of forced the hand in that way, right? Of like you know it's not just like one company making the one game, it's now like one company tries to make like all these massive games, and it's like okay they're kind of just the same game and they're kind of shit, you know, and you have to really look for the Elden Rings, you have to really look for the Spider-Mans and you know all these other ones. But you know like back to the MMO argument a little bit as well, like you know World of Warcraft was good, it arguably is kind of good again now actually, but like there's all these other MMOs out there, there's all these other AAA, AA and single A and indie games out there. So it like I don't know, that's where I'm kind of coming from is like you know like about expectations, like you know yes it's frustrating that we have to like you know pay more attention I think, but also paying more attention leads you to finding Elden Rings, you know, Spider-Man's, like when you start looking, you actually end up, oh, actually there are these great games that are still being made. It's not all garbage shit AAA games that are coming out.
Because like what's a great game objectively speaking, rather than something.
Yeah, it's a game that you have fun for 10 hours in. It's a game that you have fun 30 hours if you get that far, or you could just be like I'm playing. You know, there's a game that came out this week, I think, called Bolt Gun.
Okay.
It's a Warhammer 40k game, so of course I'm going to play it. I think I mentioned it to Alex already, and it's like I'm not really a fan of like the arena boomer shooter. That's exactly what the game is, but because it's like Warhammer, because it's just hey, I get a gun and I shoot some things.
It's the IP
pixel art, the IP that I like, and it's a well-made game. It's pretty simple. It's just like here's a bunch of dudes in a level, kill them in a cool way. Fucking rad, dude. I like the game. I've only played it for like an hour, but it's like at that point it's been an hour of awesome fun. It's great. Like that's a successful purchase for me. Like it cost me $20. Nice. Like that's not $60, right? Like that's a fun experience I can have for maybe 10 hours or something like that, right? So
I put it this way, I've come up with an objective like idea of when I pay for a game what I kind of expect for it. If I pay $80 for a game. Okay. That I equivalent a certain amount of hours of that game to a dollar price.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
So if I play a game for 5 hours, that's $10.
Right.
And that's kind of how I like literally play games nowadays.
Oh my god, these fucking Kirbys, man.
I bought Elden Ring at full price when it was like $80, right?
Yeah.
I am 335 and a half hours into the game. I think I've gotten my money's worth.
You probably got your money's worth, yeah.
By my scale.
By your scale, yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
You
When
know?
Elden Ring dropped, I played that shit all
March?
night. It was crazy.
That's the good shit, man. That's what we like about gaming, though, right? Like, you know,
So-
you stay up, you wait for the release, and then you fucking just don't sleep, and then you're like, fuck, I got work, and I've literally not slept for 48 hours.
Yeah.
I've been playing, Morgan,
That's
I've been
the shit.
playing.
That's the shit,
Remember
man.
how we agreed
Yeah.
to play Phantasy Star New Genesis?
Yes.
Fuck you. First
Yeah,
of all.
and I fucking stopped.
Yeah, I'm now 756 hours into this game.
Jesus Christ.
Jesus, man, that's a lot of hours.
That's a lot of hours into
That's
a free-to-play
coming up.
game.
Yeah.
Into a free-to-play game that I've put no money into.
Right.
So I'm just saying. But this is a J action RPG.
Gotcha. Okay.
But I love it. I love the style of gameplay, so.
No, it is fun
Versus-
fantasy. I kind of got like bored of it though, because it didn't really hook me in that well.
Yeah. Whereas like it grabbed me with like a vengeance.
For me, I feel like, at least this is just for me, like if the game's progression doesn't pull me in fast enough, then I lose interest.
Yeah.
There
Like,
has
God-
to be
God
some
forbid-
kind of
Bro, God
progression.
forbid when Warframe finally gives me my crossplay.
Oh,
No.
I'm swapping over my.
Bro, I'll
God
I'll
forbid.
drop Phantasy Star. Goodbye. Go away.
God forbid. Come on, Warframe. Come on.
I
Let's
know.
I'm waiting, man. My Xbox
good.
died. I can't play it. I'm
Just
pissed.
like we're all
Same, my
praying for
Xbox
Bloodborne
died
on
too,
PC,
yeah.
right? Bloodborne
Ugh.
on PC? Yeah.
Oh,
Come on.
Bloodborne
I'll bring
on
it
PC, yes.
That's coming.
I can't wait.
Yeah, it's not coming.
It's not coming.
Manage your expectations, Morgan. Come on, manage expectations.
I know, dude. I'm sitting here like, might as well just go torrent the fucking game on PC.
Emulator.
Emulate that shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking about it honestly, but no, I
You
won't.
definitely, you can. By the way, you can do it.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Don't do it. But you can. Don't do it. Don't do it.
I'm just waiting for Armored Core 6. Like I already
Oh,
pre-ordered
yeah,
that.
the new Armored Core. No,
I pre-ordered that whole dude. Off the bat, I already pre-ordered it. I'm
I
Nice.
just
can't
waiting.
wait to see Armored
Nice.
Core, because it's gonna be my first Armored
You guys,
Core that I
you've
play.
seen the trailers already, right? Like,
Yeah,
what
it's
was that?
cool.
Came out, was it like a week ago or
Yeah.
something like that? Like, yeah.
Like,
Watched it so many times.
I've been a huge like mech-based game fan, and
Yeah.
however, I call myself that, yet I don't play a lot of mech games because a lot of them don't fit the
Mech Warrior
niche.
that you showed me.
I
man?
played.
Was it
I grew up with Mech Assault.
Mech Assault.
Oh my god, that game was goated, man. And don't get me wrong, I know Mech Warrior is the same.
I didn't know actually.
It's just
oh,
that
wasn't
Mech
sure.
Warrior, they tried to go for a more realistic approach, I think. And
Right.
to me, it's like when I
You're looking for the
the-
more like anime.
the thing, not
type,
anime per se, but like in Mech Assault, man, when I'm like in a mech, I can feel and hear the weight of it, and when I hear
Yeah.
the crazy laser sound effects, like, oh my god, the sound design in Mech Assault is so good, and same with the fucking music, and like that game there's a sweet spot for me with Mech Assault, and I would totally replay that game if they remastered it for PC or even like, I don't know, Game Pass or some shit. But my god, that game was awesome, and the campaign was hilarious. Like, the dialogue was memorable. Like, there's I feel like it definitely hit a sweet spot for me. It's definitely a nostalgia bias, but I tried playing games like Hawken. Have you heard of that?
Oh man, like vaguely, I think.
Yeah, so
Super
Hawken
vaguely,
was
yeah.
like I want to say it's like an inspirational mech assault. So you are piloting these mechs. Cool game and all, but I played it and it was a free-to-play mech game, I think. And but it just didn't have the same destruction that Mech Assault had. Because Hawken, you're piloting mechs in like tight close quarters areas, but in Mech Assault, your whole entire map is the arena, and like I just don't know how companies like is it DICE who made Battlefield, or Frostbite?
Frostbite's the engine, DICE is
yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so like those two companies, or sorry, the engine, I mean,
Yeah.
and the company DICE.
Yeah.
Why have they not made a Mech Assault? You know what I mean? Like, their engine with like the debris that gets destroyed and all that, like, oh my god, it would be so fucking cool, man. Like,
so I guess that's I think maybe what Alex was saying before, like where like gamers were making games for gamers, right? So that example of like, you know, like, yeah, okay, EA owns DICE. They want DICE to just make Battlefield games because they've made some good Battlefield games, right? Like, yeah, that's a great example of like, hey, the company's just telling us, you know, to just keep fucking churning out these games because the consumers will keep buying the Battlefield games.
Well, you could look at it as like maybe another company wants to use the Frostbite engine, and you know,
maybe.
Like, I feel like Frostbite, you know, like should be more open.
They would probably like it would be difficult, but like I guess what I'm saying is I can't not imagine a world where if a company was like, hey EA, we do that as license, or would you be able to license out Frostbite for blah? Yeah. I could see EA going, maybe, I don't know, maybe not, but yeah,
God,
it'd be tricky
so
for
awesome.
sure. It's frustrating that's maybe what has to happen
Like,
if you want to make a
it's funny
mech
because
game of Frostbite.
so a lot of people, right, like who, like for example, who like look at mech games, like I feel like Armored Core is cool and all, but it's nowhere I want to say like Mech Assault was, unless maybe I haven't played actually Armored Core. I'm just basing off of the videos I've seen of it. Like Mech Assault, you're in these like 40-foot mechs minimum, like really big mechs, and you move slow how it feels. So you want to utilize as many of the buildings as you can if possible. You also want to check your overheating, like thermostat, whatever you call it. Like, if you overheat in a battle, you're screwed.
Right.
You know, like, there are so many, it's like hidden mechanics in it, but when you watch it from a perspective, like a blind perspective, you just see giant robots shooting each other.
Yeah.
But when you're actually someone who's played with the game, you're like, holy shit, there's actually a skill cap in this. And it's a different kind of skill cap too, you know?
Right, okay.
Like, it's hard for me to explain it.
That probably just comes with playing a game for a bunch of hours though, right? Like,
true.
I imagine, like, clearly, Morgan, you played Mech Assault for a bunch of fucking hours, right?
It was my childhood game, yeah. You know,
yeah.
There were definitely a lot of games I played too. I feel like I played Halo more than I did Mech Assault, but every time I went back to Mech Assault, it was just always fun. Oh, and then Melee, I played the shit out of. Holy fuck. I think I probably had like 2,000 hours in that as a kid.
Oh, Smash Bros?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's a classic.
I mean, Armored Core does look good. Like,
bro, I was about to say, like, yeah, Morgan's gonna fucking evolve from fucking Mech Assault to Armored Core now.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to Armored Core because I saw the gameplay of it. I'm like, this looks intensely fast.
It looks intense, yeah. That's
it is.
Good word to describe it.
I don't remember what their last one was. I think it was 5.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it makes sense if this is Armored Core 6. Like, probably.
Yeah, but there was like one that didn't have. There's one that didn't have online.
Okay.
That's the thing. And I think 5 was the last one that had online. And if you watch that shit, man, it is fucking strange.
A friend of mine has gone back and played all the Armored Cores because he wants to play Armored Core 6, and yeah, he's also a guy I played Dungeons and Dragons with. As just a weird aside, I guess, but yeah, he was telling me how, like, yeah, there's some interesting game design ideas in Armored Core 6. Not necessarily all ones that he agrees with. So he's interested as shit to play Armored Core 6 because he's, you know, he wants to see if there's any like just fucking bullshit radical ideas that they come out with.
Like here's the funny one, Morgan. Here's the funny one. The biggest thing to decide PvP in Armored Core is literally when you build your fucking mech. What's the turning speed of your mech?
Oh, that's gonna be a big major.
And I shit you not, you can have different left and right turning speeds.
Wait, what?
So, like, say you engage somebody with, like, a left turning speed, and they try to strafe so that they are turning left towards you. Well, if your turning speed is also left, You have to play around that. You have to play around angles because you can always shoot. Like all the weapons essentially are kind of like lock on.
Okay.
And there's like an area in front of your screen that's like your lock on area for like missiles and things like that. Okay. The fucking mechs are flying around at cracked out speeds, but the turning speed of the mechs, not that good.
I see.
Depends on how you build them.
So you do want to like utilize like turning and all that, because apparently I've seen the game is like super fast.
It is, and it's like it's hilarious how like the PvP plays out because it's this like really strategic, strange dance you have to do against your opponent.
Straight out of ADHD.
That sounds really interesting.
It is. It is so satisfying when it works though.
Yeah.
When it's working, it's so satisfying.
What would you say Armored Core was? Like, it's probably not AAA, right? Like, that's probably what, like, AA, single A, maybe?
Again, more of like the FromSoft, like a cult following.
So kind of, like more kind of indie type thing. Yeah. It's cool to see that company reach a broader audience, though. Like, and again, I think this is what we've all covered before, right? And what we've talked about, like, like Morgan, you brought this up before, right? When you were like, yeah, it's weird that companies don't make a game for their, fans.
Yeah.
That seems like what FromSoft's been doing just constantly, right? They've just been, hey, you guys like this game? Cool. Here's another one of these games that you like.
The last Armored Core 5
Thanks, FromSoft,
came out in 2012 on the PlayStation 3 and 360. There's been no Armored Core game since.
Jeez,
that's 11 years of
and this was their first release outside of Japan.
Yeah, I feel like the
game never had releases outside of Japan on Sony console.
Yeah, devs would definitely get very I want to say tired of making the same IP. So I do think maybe it is a good time for them to have a break from the Soulsborne series and move on to another thing.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point. I think a lot of devs would agree with you on that. Yeah, because as much as you can have different challenges from Elden Ring to Bloodborne to Dark Souls 3, it's like you're inherently making a very similar game all the time. Yeah. Exactly.
Oh yeah, 100%. And like I said, like this is like the president of FromSoft, like fucking Mr. Miyazaki himself, has said like, we need a break from making Souls games.
Yeah.
Here's Armored Core.
Here's Armored Core.
Yeah, and honestly, like that's fair, man. They've made
and man, can you imagine the fans of Armored Core that have probably just been playing these FromSoft games? They're just like, we just like FromSoft games. Nothing wrong with that. But now like their game is getting this brand new fucking release after fucking 100 years.
and then it's vice versa, right? Because now you've got all these fans that have like, yep, Dark Souls 3 was really good, yeah, Bloodborne was really good, yeah, Elden Ring was really good. Oh, hey, this same studio is making Armored Core 6. I've never played any of these Armored Core games, but you know what? I like these other 3 games.
And
yeah,
hey,
I'll give that a go.
That actually sells better because all of their games.
That's what you were saying, Morgan, right?
Yeah. So, let alone the Armored Core fans fucking rejoicing.
It's weird that
I feel like that's how you bring two communities together, is if you deliver high quality products. Right?
That's weird to say, right? Isn't it weird that if you trust a guy, you'll buy something that they sell you?
Yeah, like
weird concept.
What? Trust? What is that?
No.
Dopa, wake up.
Surely that
Dopa, wake up. Dopa, wake up. Dopa, wake up. Dopa, wake up.
Oh, is he asleep?
Dopa, wake up. Dopa, wake up. Dopa, wake up.
Dude, I'm sorry. It's just such a. Dude, I'm so tired.
Baby.
We've been going in circles on this anyway. So no worries.
Oh my god.
Holy shit.
Well, we now.
Holy shit! I actually want to fall asleep.
God, we now know Dopa's ASMR is.
How to get you to fall asleep is we'll just talk in circles about AAA, AA, AAA.
Bro, I'm sorry, that was just fun, bro. You were so fucking slumped in your chair there, bro. That was so funny to me. I was like, good. Bro, the only thing. Oh, you guys do have. Morgan. You have to add sounds to your guys' fucking
Soundboard.
Yeah. Oh, a soundboard? Yeah, I could do that.
Yeah, that's a surefire way to
Well, I
mess
mean,
it up.
what I'm recording right now, it doesn't record all my screens, so it's only recording my. Oh,
Yeah, like, I could have done that to Dopa.
Oh my god.
I heard Armor Core 6 and I heard Dope. Yeah, look at this motherfucker sleeping. I was like, oh shit, no way, no way, I gotta call sleeping, bro. Oh my god.
You're like, uh-oh.
Yeah, exactly that. Oh,
that's hilarious because I didn't even have to go.
Bro, if
find
I
that
get
soundboard.
Nitro right now, I can use the sound effects from the fucking Vanderland
Yeah.
game.
Oh
my god, I could scare the shit out of you guys. Tempting. I might do that when I get back.
Uh-oh.
I might sign up for my
Yeah.
Discord Nitro just so I can hear some
Just so
people.
you can. People.
That's it.
Oh my,
That's it.
bro.
The
If you-
soundboard's
if you-
dangerous though, man. Like,
if you
man,
listen to-
if you spam that shit too much, it just, oh my god.
I know, that's the... Bro, here's the
becomes
funny thing.
So infuriating.
Here's the funny thing. In
Yeah.
my other Discord, there's a bunch of people that play Escape from Tarkov.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I sampled a bunch of sounds from Escape from Tarkov, like
Oh,
reaching
no,
a
you
door,
didn't.
footsteps
Wow,
on
you
different
No
surfaces.
way, you didn't do
Ruthless.
that.
And more importantly, the best one,
What?
the grenade drop.
Oh no way, dude.
So like they'll be
No.
like doing shit, and they'll be like getting into like a conversation, and I'll like
How-
click footsteps.
The f-
Oh wow, dude. That's so mean. So mean.
I am
It is
so
so funny.
pissed.
But also, fucking, that's right there, dude. You
It's,
know?
and
like,
I've scared the shit out of them.
big brain.
Like they were doing this one thing. They were fucking PvPing like players,
Wow.
right? It was like full squad v full squad, and they like breached open some doors to like try and get these guys. I played the grenade drop sound. One of them jumped off of a 2-story building and broke his leg.
That's funny.
I was like, oh my god, oh no, and they just like stopped and they're like, Alex, can you fucking leave? And I said, I'm sorry,
you
guys.
leave?
And I
see,
just left. I left.
I'll
the
see
Discord.
myself out. I'll see myself out.
Oh my god.
That's
The
mean,
funny
but also
thing-
really fucking funny.
Yeah, no, it was so funny. And then like, yeah, the funny thing is like they're just like, yeah, actually because we like stopped running into the building, we actually
Right.
won that encounter.
Oh.
Like they actually just like baited the guys to like come outside versus like them trying to go in, holding corners. And I
And
was
that's
just
your
like, see,
argument,
I
basically.
saved
like,
you.
I saved
And
you.
they're like,
exactly.
no,
No, you didn't.
no, fuck you.
Fuck you. Yeah.
But it was fucking hilarious.
God damn
That
it,
was-
Yeah.
Very funny.
Oh, God. I felt genuinely bad.
One
That
of
made me feel
one of
bad.
my other discords was of using the soundboard. I think last weekend or earlier this
Which
week.
one was it?
None of them that you're in, unfortunately. But there, guys in there. There's one of the guys in there who made a sound of like him going, "Hey guys, can you hear me?" And it was one of those recordings where he was like, "Oh, I'll just make a funny recording." So like, I think at like 4 p.m. or something, he made a recording, uploaded it to the soundboard, and then whenever he would say anything in the call, and this is for like 5 hours, from like 5 until like 10 p.m. Everybody would just, or one person would spam like, "Hey guys, can you hear me?" Whenever he would start saying anything, and it was one of those recordings where it was so perfectly his voice, like sampled really well because he has a pretty good microphone. That it was just like, as soon as that sound was played, everyone was laughing for 30 minutes. There's no way he can get a word in edgewise, and it's just like everybody's just going fucking nuts for
Dude,
like 5 hours with the sound. And it was-
Soundboards?
oh man, it was just fucking nuts.
Soundboards are crazy. So I don't know if you guys have explored any of the more degenerate like big public servers.
Yeah.
No, not yet.
Okay, so
no.
like there's servers like Sinful and like eGirl World, just to name a bunch of
Oh my god,
stupid
okay,
bullshit
eGirl
worlds,
World.
right? Yeah, I know.
Alright,
And
alright.
but
Where
you
are
know
you
what's
going first?
crazy is people come in with their soundboards and they're so loud where your ears actually hurt. And it's got me wondering. It's like, is that not assault?
Yeah,
Is that
I
not?
mean,
That's
You
funny.
You know what's
man.
re-
It's funny
here's
you
something
put it.
really funny. Okay,
That's interesting.
there
Yeah.
is
I mean, you
there
can
is
also
this
just, you know.
there's this
sort of
Rust
everything.
community, okay, and they have this one guy that sits in their base and he just like he plays like music, and they have like an intercom in their base, right? Okay,
Okay.
so they got raided, their base got raided, and their music guy got killed, right?
Okay.
So what they
nice.
did is they weaponized the music guy, okay? They gave him an intercom, and they would
do that?
position him around to play. And they
Okay,
discovered a sound, some
Yeah.
kind of
No
sound
way.
frequency or whatnot,
No way.
that would literally crash people's game
What?
when heard. Yeah. And so they weaponized this guy.
That's a bug, sure.
Bro,
It was a
massive
bug. It
web-
was a bug.
Okay.
But
okay.
they still have not fixed it to this day. But the devs have told them, they're like, you need to
Really?
fucking stop doing this, or we are going to
Really?
like IP ban and like system ban you.
Jesus.
And they're like, okay, we'll stop.
Dude. Weapons of mass destruction, dude. You made that shit sound like a 9/11 inside job.
Bro, like that, but that shit's
Yeah.
hilarious.
Yeah.
That's funny as hell.
That is kind of funny. I'm gonna lie to you.
It is funny, but
Like they would just position
like-
this guy at somebody's base and then just like turn him on.
Dude, that's like that's the equivalent of people in VR chat with crazy avatars that have animations.
Dude, listen, Morgan, I was there back in the fucking golden ages of VR chat. There were like avatars that can crash you in an instant. Like,
Yeah. So
there's like,
Jamie,
What is this
actually don't. But yeah,
horrible.
explain. Go ahead, man.
sorry, man.
there are, so basically, you know how avatars are made. They would like create polygons or whatever.
Yeah.
And so, the more polygons, like you add, you know, it can crash someone. So like,
Oh,
there's some
100%,
people
yeah.
Because
with
your
guns.
game has to load it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so like, there's this one time, there's like nudity everywhere. So like, there's this one time,
Dicks.
yeah, this guy changes the avatar into like this girl with the big floppy penis, right? And as soon
Right.
as she like comes, it crashes your whole PC.
Because
'Cause it-
every
yeah,
cum
so-
drop
Yeah, exactly, right?
Oh my
So
god. So you've got what? So you're telling me that you, instead of optimizing a like a 3D asset for a character, right? That's got like, oh yeah, we've optimized this asset to
Yeah,
have
You fuck with
over
people by
100
crashing their shit.
poly-
fuck
polygons,
with
right?
people
You go
by
the
not
other way.
optimizing your character.
Where you've got not only have we not optimized this 3D character, we've given it 300 million polygons.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And there's no way.
man.
There's no way for them to detect it too, because like
Of course, yeah.
it'd also be like a random anime model or just a normal model, right? They'll point
Yeah.
at you, crash you.
Yeah. Oh,
That's
it's
it.
so
It was
funny.
that fucking crazy.
Some crashers, Jamie, are like the ones I see all the time are so if you don't have your settings, so there's safety settings in VR chat where you
Okay.
basically are like, hey, like if I load into a world, you can preload everyone's character to be like on those settings. So if
okay.
you were like new to VR chat and you don't know about this setting, right? So you go into a world and some guy joins.
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
And he all he has to do is hit shift and any of the F keys to whichever he assigns is like an animation button. So like, for example, so you'll be playing and the guy's animation will alter your POV and it'll be like your vision is like, you know those like really shitty like PowerPoint presentations when like, the screen like flips and rotates and shit.
Yeah.
So the guy is just doing that to you, and it's like rap is playing in the background, and it's like every time there's a bass kick, like the screen it does like a shake. And here's the funniest part is, if you're on desktop, it's not as bad, but if you're wearing the VR and you're in the
yeah, that's
standing,
motion
I
sickness.
imagine,
you
yeah.
instant motion sickness. You're like, I've seen people fall from standing. Like we're just chilling. I'm on desktop and like some guy has this full body tracksuit, and then as soon as you hear like the guy, you know it's the crasher guy when you hear the him and the sim and the hum and the him and the hot, like the rap is playing, like the guy's blasting thug music and shit in the background, and 3 seconds after that, if you're like, you know, like nothing's happened in 3 seconds, the animations come in and your guy's screen is getting
Right.
all fucked with. It is so
Yeah.
fucking.
So how does this work then? So you've got a guy that can point at you, and then he can fuck your camera or something, like?
Yeah, so essentially,
Or it would be a gun. It would be just any type of objects, right?
Right,
So the
right,
way
right.
people like, what you just have to know the motherfucker at this point, right? You have
just
to
have
like
to know it's a
memorize his
crasher.
his avatar. As soon as you see
Okay.
him, you block him, you leave.
You
Right?
block
You're
it,
just
you-
like,
right,
yeah. That was basically
the
it.
worst crashers. The worst crashers are the ones who. So normally there's guys who will just have an avatar that's like low poly or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And then you get the guys who join with the low poly, and what they do is they're chilling with you for a bit and all this shit. They're like making you
Yeah,
laugh,
of course.
and then they just immediately change into the avatar with 2 billion fucking polygons, and it crashes the entire world.
Of course,
Oh my god, dude, these
Because
motherfuckers
now
are crazy.
everyone's systems has to load in
Yeah.
2 billion polygons. Like, come on. Oh, that sounds like really fucking annoying.
It is brutal.
Yeah.
Funny annoying, yeah. Because back in the day, VR chat had a lot of people that were like, you know, stupid individuals. A lot of people that are like really chill.
Yeah.
Right.
I guess kind of like any online community, right? Like you've got your guys that are just like, oh yeah, these are just normal human beings, and then you've got the guys that are like,
Fucking losers.
okay, you like what the heck? Yeah, what's going on over here, guys? Like, oh, that's a bit weird.
Yeah. Now VR chat's kind of dead and it's filled with fucking.
Actually,
losers.
VR chat's starting to boom again.
Really?
Because, well, I was just telling, oh shit, actually, Jamie, we were talking about this when I was playing Pokemon. So, it was us and Nona and Terrell. And basically what I was saying to you guys, I think it was maybe like a few days ago, was essentially when you play games like COD and all that shit, the game devs are coming so hard on people for like shit talking, right? So all the shit talkers who are getting banned are coming to VR chat to start shit talking. It is the best, man. And like, so you know all those like e-couples and shit.
Right.
Like, so they'll be in a room and it's like a bunch of people. Like,
I think
people who are like online daters and shit.
Yeah.
So like,
so
like Terrell will just see this e-couple and he's like, "Yo, you want to start a threesome?" And the guy will be like, "Ew, get away from me." He's like, "What you say, bitch?" Like, and starts just roasting the guy. And it's just, but there's so many people like that coming to VR chat, so it's just this hilarious fucking transition.
Jesus. That does sound like kind of does sound like fun, actually. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, e-couples are the saddest people in existence, man. Just layers of fucking pity and patheticness.
Why do you think that is, Dofa? Why do you think that is?
Brother.
I'm curious.
Dude, I don't even know, man.
These are people that like can't. They literally can't exist. These are people that can't exist in the physical world.
They can't exist in the physical world. Now they clearly can because they've got
like
you know
the Hikomoris of Japan.
No, they exist in the physical world.
Yeah.
And I mean like I'm talking about like outside like society, right?
Outside of society. Okay.
No, not outside of, just outside of their internet space. Okay.
Oh, I see.
They exist within that space as little as possible.
Yeah.
They probably work a shitty job.
Okay.
They probably like get groceries or just like I don't know.
The real profile.
Oh yes, they
just
they just recycle their shit, right?
And then they just like go home to like their like VR chat, and that's like.
There's a lot of like married chicks on VR chat that have like
Jesus Christ.
They live with their husbands though, right? And then they go on VR chat and get attention from a bunch of other guys. It's so fucking funny.
Oh really?
Yeah, it's really funny. It's like you go on here and it's like, why are you getting this attention from these other guys? But you have like from what they tell you, their husband's like loving and nice. And, like, yeah, I don't know. And it's like they're just my friends. It's like, okay, cool.
I think.
Like, they're not your friends. These guys definitely want to get some news out of you if they can't meet up with you.
What's going on, man? What's going on?
You know? Oh, is Mo back?
Yeah, I'll definitely come, dude.
Alright, I think I'm actually gonna dip. I gotta go get some sleep.
Get your fucking ass off that fucking computer chair. Get the fuck over the hello goodbye. Come on, baby. We going deep. We going.
It's
like 11 a.m.
He
wants you to go out at 11 p.m.
He wants me to.
Alright.
Oh, do I go out?
I'm a dip, friendos. I'll talk to you later.
See you later, Alex.
Do we dip? Man. Is this the end?
Well, I'm dipping. I gotta go do some extra packing and get some sleep because I fly out tomorrow.
So I guess I take it the end of the recording then.
Oof. I ended
up. I'll fucking fell asleep.
Yeah, you need to go to sleep, baby. You need to go to sleep.
That was a good moment.
Funny.
Holy shit! I wish that my OBS could record like both screens at the same time.
Uh-huh.
Or maybe there is a way, but damn, if I got that, I would have totally put your face.
I think the only way to do it is to like make it, like force it to be big or something. I don't know. But
Maybe,
it's a weird
like
one.
a big
It's a weird
aspect
one.
ratio.
Yeah, big aspect ratio. Yeah.
But I'm on like
Yeah.
3
You could-
monitors. You know what I mean?
You could also
Yeah.
do some like shenanigans if you're willing to like put in the like money to get an extra like GPU.
Or you know what I could have done? Fuck, maybe
Have
next,
it like
maybe
have
next
it like
time I'll do it.
partition out tasks. I think you can do
I
that.
mean, maybe next time I can do it is I'll just like make my game window really small, and then I'll have the Discord on the side, so I'll record both screens. But then,
I guess you could do that. Yeah.
But then what happens is, so it records my screen, right? And but rather than like
Yeah, not the
I can
game.
I can just
exactly. Yeah.
increase whatever size of the window of the game and shit later. But that's funny
I was
though.
about to say, could you not have 2 separate instances of OBS running at the same time?
That I don't
Ooh,
know.
good question. Good question,
I
Alex.
don't
That
know,
is above
honestly.
my pay grade.
I don't
That's
know the
above my
technical.
pay grade.
Why I don't know
Above
the
my pay
technical like fucking
Yeah.
limits of OBS. So.
Funny.
No, trust me, I'm not a huge OBS guy either. Like I don't know shit.
I use it for work, for capturing, yeah, like cinematics in games and stuff like that. And
So how long was I out for? Like 5 minutes?
not that long, not that long.
Yeah.
Like a
fine.
minute?
All right.
Like maybe 2-3 minutes.
All right. Peace, friends.
All right, bye, Alex.
See you later.
See you, brother. See you, brother.
Okay, I'm gonna finish this match.
No, it was a wholesome moment though. It wasn't like a ha 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 moment. It was like a
Y'all were
you know?
boring me with the conversation. It's just that lately.
Man, this
Lately,
conversation is so boring, dude.
We
yeah,
were just
fuck
getting
you guys.
really
yeah.
into like the philosophy of things.
boring, bro. Yeah.
Nah, I understand. I mean, I was
Joe,
somewhat
I know
listening.
you
to
want to talk about big baddies and shit.
We were going around in a circle.
Yells.
Though, to be fair, we did just like yeah.
Oh
Spinning
my
around.
God.
Yeah.
It's a
Well,
good spin,
I guess
though.
I'm gonna
enjoyed
go see Mo. I guess.
Oh, right now.
Adam. Well, after this game. I
it.
can't
It's
believe
11,
playing.
it's 11 p.m. though. Like, why are you going out at 11 p.m.? Just go to bed.
A lot of people go out at 11 though.
I don't. Oh man.
Vancouver is a
Yeah.
very party city.
So is Montreal, to be fair. Like, you
Well, I
know.
mean, I would argue Montreal's is way better than Vancouver's.
Yeah, I think it might be. Yeah. I'm just not the guy that does that, you know.
Yeah, I know you're. Not.
As you well know.
I
yeah.
know.
Yeah. I'm the guy that's like, why are you guys going out so late? And then goes to bed at 9 p.m. You know, like
My introvert boy.
weirdly it's 2:20 a.m. for me, but I've been in my room for.
That's
this
right.
whole
You're
time.
like a couple hours ahead of us too.
Yeah.
Are you East Coast?
East Coast, yeah, Montreal. Yeah.
Montreal.
Yeah.
Quick doxy.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And here's my
Central.
address. No.
Oh shit! I'm asleep.
I used to be in Vancouver. I went to film school in Morgan
Yeah, those were good years,
for a
man.
couple of years. Yeah.
I
that was
still remember when we were in animation. We had a teacher for I think it was perspective or composition class,
good. Yeah. Composition.
and that fucking dick kicked out my girlfriend.
Ooh.
Do you
I
remember
mean, she wasn't part of the class though.
that? No, but we were done class,
Yeah, but like.
and plus, like a bunch of people were like, they were like, yeah, tell her to come sit with us. Meanwhile, boyfriend was coming to classes all the time.
Yeah, I'm very I'm neutral in it. I think
You're
It was
neutral?
like, yeah, I can understand why you know it should be fine, but also I can understand why it should not be fine.
Brutal.
That's all I'm saying.
No, I know, but oh
Yeah,
my
sorry,
god, that
man.
made me so pissed when he
No
kicked
worries.
her out. He's like, yeah, you need to get out of my class. I was like, what?
Yeah, maybe he could have done it in a better way, but you know, he was like a fucking.
That guy was a
What he-
cokehead, definitely. I don't give a fuck, dude. That guy, him and or not. Oh no, it is him and. I love.
Really, you think?
Is definitely doing coke, man. Both of them
Really?
worked on Ren and Stimpy, man. You're telling me they're not cokeheads or
Yeah, they didn't
Or
have to. You didn't
stoners?
have to be cokeheads to work on Ren and Stimpy.
Buddy, the guy had a train noise for his fucking ringtone in class and would come out and be like, I remember our first composition class, and he's
Right.
teaching us like, like draw a bird, out of another bird here,
Yeah.
now composition, rule of thirds. I'm like, And you look at his eyes and like, dude, I can like this motherfucker's high as fuck, man. This
Fair
guy
enough.
is so high.
That blew over my head. That blew over
Like,
my head. Fair enough.
holy shit, man. This guy's coming to work high. How is that? Oh.
Well, if he
That should've
was,
been-
I learned a hell of a lot from that.
No,
so
it was. Oh,
maybe
he was still a good teacher though. But my God.
Yeah.
Oh, I still remember the time we were talking about the dreams we had.
Oh yeah,
And I started talking about the because I keep
Yeah, that-
having that one dream where I wake up in a grass field and I turn behind.
Right.
And there's like a White House on a hill.
That's the
and-
house,
Yeah, and I've never gone into the house yet, right? And basically,
yeah.
as I get closer, I wake up, right?
Yeah.
So like,
You keep
but-
getting closer, but you never quite
yeah,
get
but
there.
I never
right? Like,
actually get there. So, and then it's just like, maybe when you'll die, you'll get to go inside.
Oh yeah.
I was like, true, but holy
Yeah,
fuck.
true, but fuck me, dude. You're my teacher. Here.
Yeah, you know, like-
that's maybe a bit much. I don't know, man. Yeah.
You know, like, oh my God, he was, Jesus, man. He like
Fucking brutal. dude.
edged, man.
Fucking
Edged
brutal.
lord
Yeah.
over here, man. What I don't
Edged.
know what you call that, man. Oh, fuck,
Edged
my
of
name-
Lord. Yeah, exactly. Lord of Edged. Yeah.
actual
Polyhedral
edge,
over here,
man.
man.
Like, holy
Yeah.
shit, that guy was
Well-
something else, dude.
More edges than a triangle.
Just in a triangle.
Which
Oh my
only has
God.
more edges. Yeah.
All right, I think
GG's,
we call
guys.
it here then.
GG's. Yeah, it's good chat. Good
Oh my God. I need to start
Alright, good
recording
night.
more often though, man. Fuck. We have some
Good
funny
night,
ass
dudes.
shit.
It was
Okay.
good. It was good, man. See you later.
All right, see you
Have a
later,
good
Night,
boys.
night.